from what I understand, this kid just lit the room up and was just loved by everybody. And so they're all going to be having a very difficult time getting through this.
Welcome to Crime Lens. Today, we unravel two heartbreaking yet deeply disturbing stories of mothers whose actions have left the world questioning the limits of maternal love. From an exorcism gone tragically wrong in Florida to a mother's violent act in Australia, these stories are not just tragic, they are bewildering. In today's video, we'll dive deep into the haunting cases of Rhonda Paulynice and Lauren Flanigan, two mothers whose lives and choices led them down a dark and irreversible path. Stay with us as we examine the chilling details of each case and the terrifying circumstances that led to the deaths of their young children. But what exactly drove these mothers to commit such horrifying acts? Was it mental illness, spiritual delusions, or something far darker? Stick around because by the end of this video, you'll be questioning everything you thought you knew about motherhood and crime. Case 1. Rhonda Paulynice. On May 30, 2025, police in Fort Pierce, Florida, received a chilling call that would lead them to uncover one of the most unsettling and tragic cases of maternal violence. A welfare check had been requested by a school resource officer after a 6-year-old child named Rhonda Pierre had not been seen at school for weeks. His absence from school had raised serious concerns, and authorities were concerned for his well-being. As deputies arrived at the home, they encountered Rhonda's mother, 42-year-old Rhonda Paulynice. Rhonda was asked where her son was, but her response was strange. She pointed to various doors in the house, leading the deputies to believe that something was amiss. A deputy knocked on one of the doors, but there was no response. When asked again, Rhonda allegedly told the deputy he could go into the room. What they found inside that room was beyond anyone's worst nightmare. Inside the room, authorities discovered Rhonda lying motionless on a bed, wrapped in fabric. Only his face was exposed. At first glance, it was clear that something was terribly wrong. The deputy quickly realized that Rhonda was already dead. His lifeless body, disturbingly displayed, was a haunting sight for everyone involved in the investigation. While Rhonda was detained and questioned by authorities, detectives made disturbing observations about the condition of the home. The property was almost clinically organized. Everything was neatly arranged, almost to an unnerving degree. There were no sentimental items scattered around the house, no toys, no personal mementos, except for a few family photographs on the fridge. In the laundry room, investigators discovered a garbage bag filled with clean children's clothing, all meticulously folded and prepared, but no sign of Rhonda's recent life. Despite the tragic nature of the discovery, when Rhonda was allowed to say her goodbye to her son, her emotional response raised eyebrows. Deputies noted that while she appeared distraught, it didn't seem genuine. It was as if her sorrow lacked the depth that one would expect from a mother in her position. Her behavior was unsettlingly calm and controlled. As authorities continued their investigation, the pieces of the puzzle started to fall into place. Rhonda's explanation for her son's death was nothing short of chilling. According to her, she had been told by God to exorcise the demons that had taken over her son's body. She believed that Rhonda was being controlled by evil spirits and that she was being guided by a higher power to rid him of these forces. Rhonda claimed that she had been acting on divine instruction when she performed the exorcism on her son. The sheriff's office later held a press conference where they revealed more disturbing details. Rhonda allegedly attempted to preserve Rhonda's body in some form after his death. She had wrapped him in fabric, perhaps believing that his spirit would return. In her mind, Ramiel's death wasn't the end. It was part of a larger spiritual process. She believed that the boy had been freed from the demons that had plagued him and that he'd somehow come back. The investigation revealed that Ramiel likely died around May 18, 2025, over a week before the police found his body. Rhonda had last spoken to him that day, and her statements indicated that she thought he was merely waiting for his return after being freed of the spirit that had controlled him. According to Sheriff Richard Del Toro, Rhonda's bizarre beliefs were not confined to this tragic event. On May 17th, just a day before Ramiel's death, authorities had been called to the Paulynice residence due to a medical issue. This was not the first time that Rhonda had raised concerns. In January 2025, law enforcement had responded to a separate incident involving Rhonda and a family member who had once lived in the home. It was clear that this wasn't an isolated case of erratic behavior. Rhonda's bizarre media posts after May 18th raised further alarms. In the days following Ramiel's death, Rhonda continued to make social media updates, presenting herself as if everything were normal. There was no indication on her online presence that anything had changed in her life, despite the tragic death of her son. During her court appearance on May 31, 2025, Rhonda was charged with second-degree murder, failure to report a death, and altering her body. She was denied bail. But as her statements and actions were scrutinized, it became increasingly clear that Rhonda's delusions were not just an isolated mental health crisis. There seemed to be a much darker, more complicated story beneath the surface. In her police interrogation, Rhonda's responses were unsettling. She claimed that she wasn't in control of her actions, stating that her body, or vessel, had been taken over by God or a higher power. According to Rhonda, she had been having dreams and visions in which God/Father instructed her on what to do. She described feeling that she was being forced into taking Ramiel's life, as if she had no choice in the matter. She said, "I had to take my son's life. I was in a position where I had to." These statements bring us to a chilling question. Was Rhonda truly under the grip of a spiritual delusion, or was she simply suffering from severe mental illness? Did she believe her actions were justified, or was she detached from the reality of her son's death? While Rhonda's mental state will be carefully examined during her trial, one thing remains clear. The death of Ramiel Pierre was a senseless and tragic loss. Case 2. The Lorne Flanigan Case. While the case of Rhonda Paulynice is deeply disturbing, our second story takes us across the globe to Australia, where the tragedy is no less shocking. On May 26, 2025, police in Bundaberg, Queensland, responded to a horrifying call from a home on the outskirts of Moore Park Beach. When emergency services arrived, they found a gruesome scene. A young child, 3-year-old Sophia Rose, had been brutally murdered by her own mother, Lauren Ingrid Flanigan. The tragedy began to unfold when neighbors reported hearing screams from the home, followed by the sight of little Sophia lying motionless in the front yard. The scene was described as horrific, with neighbors stating they could hear the mother shouting in a manner that was far from calm. It quickly became clear that something was terribly wrong. Lauren, the mother, was seen in a state of distress, and when police arrived at the scene, they found Sophia's body covered in multiple wounds. As authorities arrived on the scene, it was confirmed that the toddler had suffered multiple wounds, leading to her tragic death. The brutal nature of the crime sent shockwaves through the community, leaving neighbors and investigators alike grappling with the question, how could a mother be capable of such violence toward her own child? The neighbors' statements painted a vivid picture of the chaos that had unfolded. One reported hearing Lauren screaming loudly, which escalated into a violent act against her daughter. Witnesses confirmed that shortly after the attack, little Sophia's body was found in the yard, her hair spread out behind her as if discarded carelessly in the aftermath of a horror no child should ever endure.
Lauren's partner, the father of the children, was reportedly not at home at the time of the incident. He was away for work, and it wasn't until after the police arrived that he was notified of the tragic events. However, neighbors reported that Lauren had been known to experience mental health episodes, which may have played a role in the devastating attack. As details began to emerge, it became clear that Lauren Flanigan's history was complicated. She had struggled with mental health issues for some time, though specifics were still unclear. Reports indicated that she had previously been diagnosed with mental health disorders, and some neighbors recalled her having emotional episodes that left her appearing disoriented or unstable. These mental health struggles seemed to be a recurring theme in her life, raising questions about her ability to care for her children and the extent to which her condition may have contributed to the violence. Lauren's social media presence also shed light on her state of mind leading up to the tragic event. On the very day of the murder, Lauren had posted a cryptic message on Instagram using the handle lauren.faithandfreedom. The post, which was later scrutinized by investigators, offered little explanation for her actions, but seemed to hint at inner turmoil. Was this post a cry for help, or a sign of something far darker that had been festering beneath the surface? After the murder, Lauren was quickly arrested and charged with the murder of her daughter. She was taken into custody, where she was held without bail, awaiting further legal proceedings. But just a week later, on May 31st, 2025, another shocking development occurred. While in custody at the Brisbane Women's Correctional Center, Lauren was found unresponsive in her cell. Authorities initially reported that Lauren had experienced a medical emergency, and despite immediate attempts to revive her, she was later pronounced dead in the hospital. The cause of her death remains unclear, but it has been speculated that it may have been a suicide. Other reports suggested she could have been attacked by other inmates, although no definitive cause has been confirmed. This sudden and mysterious death has added a layer of complexity to an already tragic case. What happened in that prison cell? Was Lauren's death related to her mental state, or was there something more sinister at play? Authorities are still investigating, but the mystery surrounding Lauren's death has raised more questions than answers. The news of Lauren's death sent shockwaves through both the local community in Bundaberg and the wider Australian public. Sophia's death was already a tragic loss, but now the circumstances surrounding her mother's death added another layer of sadness and confusion. Was Lauren's demise a direct result of her own mental health struggles, or did something more malicious take place within the prison walls? Authorities in Queensland have promised a thorough investigation into the circumstances surrounding both the death of Sophia and Lauren's subsequent death in custody. The case has garnered significant attention from the public and the media, sparking debates about mental illness, criminal responsibility, and the treatment of individuals with psychiatric conditions.
As the investigation continues, there are still many unanswered questions. Could Lauren's mental health issues have been managed, preventing this tragic loss? Was she given adequate support or intervention in the time leading up to the murder? And what about her sudden death in custody? Was it an unfortunate consequence of her struggles, or was it something else entirely? While the full investigation into both deaths is still ongoing, one thing remains clear. This is a case that highlights the dark side of mental illness and the devastating consequences that can occur when these issues go unaddressed. Both Sophia's death and Lauren's subsequent passing leave us with deep sorrow and confusion. Was this a case of a mentally ill mother who spiraled out of control? Or was there something more at play? And what will the investigation reveal about the tragic death of Lauren Flanigan in prison? These questions will likely haunt the community for years to come. And we can only hope that justice for Sophia Rose will eventually prevail. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Was this a case of mental illness, or was there something more sinister behind it all? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more updates on true crime cases like this one.